best anime about vampires. Vampires are a timeless trope in any media, but in anime, the following shows take the cake as the best vampire anime series inspired by urban legends and mythology. Creatures of the night haunt nearly every genre of anime. They can be love interests, fearsome foes, or celebrated heroes. However, few monsters in anime captivate viewers like vampires. Here are my list of the best vampire anime. Starting with this list is Owari no Seraph. When your entire society becomes dominated by vampires, how do you think the world will change? This series shows an entire hierarchy and societal structure of such a theoretical society. Well, at least tries to from a general outside perspective. So no, this is hardly the psychological series you are hoping it would be. But if you like slaying vampires in general, this still has some core entertainment value to it, hence its inclusion for this list.
俺はただ知りたいんだ。このイカれたゲームが何なのか。
あんた、この世界に来た時僕は覚えてる。
本当に誰も覚えてないんですけど。あれは。
Tannery no Kayukatsuki-san, who says that vampire anime should always be around the suspense, horror, and mystery of such creatures. This show doesn't have the deep stories, the psychological analysis, or even the high-octane action of other vampire anime, but it doesn't really need one. All you need is to sit back and relax. Cute vampires mingle along with other cute girls in our modern technological world. Blood Sea. This vampire anime is the second anime in the Blood franchise, and is the sequel to Blood Plus. Blood Sea is known to be darker than Blood Plus, which follows the story of Saya Kasaragi. Saya is known to be a clumsy teenager who loves to spend time with friends at a nearby cafe after school. She lives with her father in a shrine, but with an important job. Saya's job is to protect her small village of Yukishima from supernatural beings called the Old Ones. The Old Ones prey on humans, and Saya's job constantly tests her ability to be kind, although she doesn't quite understand why she is being tested. Fortune Arterial. The emphasis on vampires for this series is much simpler than most stories. In fact, you might barely notice it at first, but it is the main focus of our heroine, so we can still consider it as a vampire anime. Unfortunately, this was never really emphasized correctly for the anime adaptation, with the visual novel-based story struggling to keep the necessary plot elements relevant. Nonetheless, as a slice-of-life series, it is a simple and cute vampire story that you can savor in its uncomplicated format. Savant protagonists making a contract with a vampire in the stupidest fashion ever. Does that sound familiar? The quirkiness of the characters is definitely the main feature here, brightening up what would otherwise be a basic plot that has been tried way too many times already. But beware, their tirades on righteousness can be a bit too cringy at times. Its vampire elements are mostly stereotypical, just added with a bit of series-specific terminologies here and there. Action and comedy are somewhat balanced enough. It is very enjoyable, but nothing award-winning. Tsukuyomi, Moon Phase. Speaking of vampire contracts, this one also gives particular focus on two individuals, one vampire and one human, to interact with one another through various levels of hardships. However, the twist is that no restrictions are firmly set, with perhaps the exception of hostile forces that want to exploit Hazuki's uniqueness. the slow development of their connection over time is going to be the obvious selling point of the series. Though the supporting cast gives the intertwining complexity, also gives the series a wee bit more solidity as a complete story.
そんなわけないだろ。私の許可なく喋るもん。貴様らも分かってる。私に従わない場合にはこの世にも全許可を口で言っても分からなきゃ舐めてきれいにしろ。
Black Blood Brothers. This show doesn't exactly stand out due to its normal badass war hero returns premise. Its vampires are basically just a backdrop to the relationships of the characters as well. However, mechanically, their vampire identities matter since social norms, fictional history, and even combat skills are based. So go ahead, peel that vampire layers off to enjoy it as a different series. Oh, by the way, there is a weird character revelation at the end of this series.
こんなに長いよ。死ぬのを待つ時間って。
来るぞ。
Blade. Being that this is a list of vampire anime, this one is exactly as you think it is. It stays consistent with the same vampire lore of the original material and twists it into a unique setting. In fact, it is probably too consistent, providing nothing completely new to offer in an otherwise untested presentation format for the franchise. Still, it is quite entertaining to watch, and the action definitely makes up for what it lost in its novelty.
あんたたちは何者だ。
俺たちはこの国の国民だ。
Devil's Line: How to classify vampires that don't drink blood. By turning their desires into a psychological lock, think of the true ancestors of Tsukuheim, for example. As such, the idea of vampires in this series simply extends more or less to ordinary creatures of the night. While the story itself is solid, and romantic points understandable enough, it kind of struggles to lift itself up among other better entries in this list that have similar conflicts and action. Well, at least the series doesn't take itself too seriously, so maybe you should do the same. Vampire Knight. The noble nature of vampires in folklore really does make a great theoretical setup for a shoujo series, don't you agree? While the divided student body premise for an exclusive school may not be as novel as it sounds, there is enough intrigue and pseudo-mystery to the characters that should keep viewers of this show until the very end. That is if they can constantly tolerate Yuki's very questionable situational choices. But hey, that is not nearly as bad as another heroine surrounded by vampires that probably do even worse. Koyama Monogatari. Koyomi's personal arc has more or less the same general sequence of events as other arcs in the Monogatari series. But this time, things are a lot more explosive, being that this is essentially his origin story of sorts. Expectedly, this is where much of the vampire lore of his character as well as the other one becomes established. Let's just say that quite a lot of liberties we made for this particular part of the story to be done. To the original folklore, of course, not to the already established Akiba K version of the creatures today. Rosario to vampire. Extreme physical attractiveness is indeed one of the stereotypical attributes of vampires, and as such, the existence of a harem vampire series shouldn't be surprising. While a good portion of the series revolves around good old love comedy, it also features a lot of serious story arcs. These often involve monsters of high status, such as vampires, who are considered the most powerful type within this series. True to Tsukun's harem, though, the series still features a good variety of different other monster girls, to sufficiently whet your Monmusu appetite. Strike the Blood. This series has a particular huge emphasis on the concept of the original vampire. In fact, the subject is precisely its main conflict. It also draws upon all stereotypical things about vampires, though they are merely classified into one of many categories within the show. One thing to note, even though it has an official genre listing of action, it is the rather non-stereotypical cast of characters that mainly define its entertainment value. Oh, but that does not include our perfect but bland main hero, unfortunately. Blood lad vampire otaku boy meets suddenly dead girl and now pledges to revive her. Okay, That setting actually sounds pretty lame, but trust me, this is not some simplistic Deus Ex Machina bait. There are a whole plethora of underworld characters that build its world and setting, as well as character development that, for the most part, somewhat makes sense. Additionally, there are also a few unusual twists that gradually provide sense to its seemingly wacky stuff. Oh, and if you like comically gory humor, then this series is probably just right up your alley. Shiki, while the pacing, the story itself, and the character's motivation are a bit all over the place for this entry, it excels at one thing above all others in this list: lore. With an almost scientific level of detail, Shiki represents its vampires with much information and observations, a lot of which are simply shown directly for the audience to learn on their own. Most horror stories elevate their scare levels by leaving the audience to their imagination, but the vivid detail of Shiki actually makes it even more horrifying in a special way. And that is it, guys. This is the video best anime about vampires. Hope you all like this video, and please don't forget to smash that like button. And you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button, and also hit that notification bell so you will be updated on my next video upload. This is why the fact not see you all on my next video. Thank you for watching.
そんなわけないだろ。私の許可なく喋るの。貴様らも分かってるな。私に従わない場合にはこの口で言っても分からなきゃ舐めてきれいにしろ。
よっぽどいいね。
今質問が出たが、ここを開墾するのは学園菜園を作るためだ。
質問いいですか？
休憩。ゴミをリアカーに乗せ忘れるとはどういうことだ。
それませんでござる。
お願いするわ、小太一。ところで、横綱というのは付き人に捨てなくなる。お尻も洗ってもらう。そんなに太ってます。横綱家。いや、そんなつもりでは。失礼しました。監視させてすみませんね。とんでもありません。ですが、あんたは半好き。覗き魔たちが野に放たれるかと思う。会長はより厳しくしろとおっしゃっていたからな。乗馬用の鞭を用意した。
俺はただ知りたいんだ。このイカれたゲームが何なのか。
あんたこの世界に来た時のことを覚えてる？
本当に誰も覚えてないんですけど、あれは